Evening, it's Wilbert Cook again. A Hand Up Recovery Homes coming to you to talk about how to help people with recovery support services as well as other services they may need to help them live a better life. We're about uplifting the community, primarily on the west side. We're real active, but we also have helped people south side, suburbs, because we've had grants federal, state, county, and city. So in spite of us being targeted area on the west side, when you have those different grants and funding sources, you're responsible for any population within their jurisdiction. Now, City of Chicago, make sure to remind you if they're outside the city, do not use their funding. But most of our funding has been county and state and federal. So we've been able to help people who even just popped up in the Chicago area and needed help from other states. Hadn't even officially changed their address yet, but they came here knowing they had a problem with substance abuse or alcoholism, and we were able to help them, get them on the right path, and many were able to successfully return to other communities, Wisconsin, north suburbs, south suburbs, New York area, New Jersey area. Some chose to stay planted here in Chicago. Had one gentleman from the New York, New Jersey area, Richard Phelan, became our great manager of our program, and he decided to stay here. And unfortunately, he ended up with prostate cancer, left a bit premature, but he helped hundreds of people during those few years we had him with us. And he made a staple in the North Lawndale, Garfield community by always serving people. And we'll never forget him because he taught people how to get a job off the internet. Literally. First person I seen do it, where he would get job references, resources, and interviews set up for the clients on the internet. And then he'd get them the paper telling them where to be, what time, and who to see. And most of those gentlemen ended up with a job. If they followed up on the work he had done for them. So you don't get that many people, and it wasn't that it was required, it was something he had, a skill set, he wanted to use it to improve those guys, changing their lives around him. And even guys 6, 7 years later, 10 years later, see me around Chicago and they always ask about him. Everyone that he helped get a job ask about him, or they reference his memory and helping them get restarted. We got one gentleman ended up being a manager at the Tribune Company, a manager at Popeyes, and Richard helped him get his entire career rejuvenated in both areas. And he went on to have a successful career with Chicago Tribune, helping get deliveries out all across the city and suburbs. And he got married, started a family. The rest is history. Until my last knowledge about 2 years ago, he was doing absolutely marvelous. And he was downtown taking care of some business for him and his family. So it's possible. It's possible to change your life and then turn around and impact thousands of others positively. Maybe only a few hundred personally, but those few hundred have tentacles of family and friends that when they do better because of your help, your assistance, the entire family does better. And sometimes we don't talk enough about the fact that addiction is a family disease. Not that the family has the disease, but the family is affected by the diseased person. Like cancer can help destroy the morale and the mental and emotional fortitude of family members around that person that's sick. Because it is a horrible feeling sometimes when you know it's nothing you can humanly do to help a person and they're suffering. Well, in the disease of addiction, we're fortunate we can provide help. We can provide a way out. Now, the tough part is, does the individuals want the help? Will they be willing to follow what we call We term it in several ways. Some of us say suggestions because generally alcoholics, drug addicts tend to be a bit defiant when you tell them what to do. But the book, many of the books say they are clear-cut directions, they're instructions to a new way of living, and some of them even say we must be told. So the reality is we have to be willing to follow some directions, some guidelines. It says if we want what they have and are willing to go through any length to get it. I'm here tonight because I have a commitment to go to any length to share the message of hope to others. I would have loved to stay at home. They renovating my washroom, and they could have worked probably another hour or two, but I needed to be here. And they're not going to finish for at least another day, probably at least 2 more days anyway, with putting up all the tiles and the backsplash and all that. And so it was no anxiousness on my part to get a little bit more done tonight. The anxiousness was to get here. Bad weather, traffic, and all. And a somewhat later start than I would have liked. It's been a great day. It's been very productive in a peculiar way. We've been able to try to help carry the message to other recovering people. We've been able to interact. We're looking forward to getting a new person or two in the program that we can help and guide to a better way of life. So it's been amazing. And this weekend met a few different people, some with Operation Brotherhood, some with other groups associated with them, some with county government, circuit court. There's a lot of good information was spread across the city about expungements and the ability to expunge. There's the kickoff to what's going to be a wonderful summer. Different other programs, our art program over in North Lawndale was well attended. People had fun. People were feeling great afterwards. Even the Park District staff was in a good mood as they were wrapping up at the end of the day. So that's a great experience. People were coming in. There were tours of North Lawndale. Historian Diller Thomas, who's did some Black History programs and discussions with our office downtown regarding some property tax history and things in Chicagoland area. He does some history pieces all over the internet. He helped do a tour in North Lawndale for a change, where many of them are Bronzeville and other areas of the city. So he started that expansion of his abilities, his brand, and the history of Chicago. There were a few historians I knew from North Lawndale, including the lady who helped organize it, Blanche Suggs, North Lawndale Historical Society, which once was Small Grants, Small Grants Human Development Corporation. This has had various iterations, but now it's North Lawndale Historical Society. And they're doing good work over there. Matter of fact, Juneteenth, from I think 11 to 5, they have programs, a set of programs, food, gifts, opportunity to be in one of the greatest gardens in the city of Chicago, state of Illinois, outside of the Botanic Gardens and the Conservatory. Our African Garden is 1200 South Central Park, 60623, right there in North Lawndale. It is beautiful. We have limestone like what you find on the shorelines of the lake. They brought it in for us. Special groups donated that so we can have a border on one of our walls is actually limestone. And then there's plants indigenous to Ghana as well as to the southern states of the United States. There are plants and garden products that were started by the elders from Mississippi, Arkansas, Alabama, throughout North Lawndale community. Many of them have received awards all over the city and the state because of their gardening that they kept going when they came to Chicago. So it's some great things happening around the city. Juneteenth, a lot of events are starting to come up in the next couple of weeks. So mark your calendars. Don't forget Father's Day. You know, the primary goal of a Hand Up has been to help men turn their lives around and develop themselves in a new way of life, help them recover from the substance abuse and other issues that have drugged them down. And what many have come to find out is their biggest issue was actually their thinking, learning to think that right is wrong and wrong is right. They're thinking that their behavior wasn't adversely affecting their family and the entire community around them. Them not caring enough to want to right their wrongs. Them not having compassion enough for their family to help rebuild it. Instead, they continue to destroy it. So we help people turn that whole psyche around, where they become responsible citizens. They start to think more maturely. Instead of making impulsive childlike decisions, they start to think through. Being irresponsible, hoping others keep picking up their loose ends, they learn to tie their loose ends. They learn to sever bad habits. They learn to begin and enjoy a new way of life. That's the Hand Up in a nutshell. And now we're plan to expand into doing more nonviolence interruption. But we plan to have groups that can be on the street more active in helping stop the next shooting and not waiting to prevent retaliatory shooting. They're starting to get there, but I really believe it's a gap in the services where we can reach more of them young men before the next violent episode and series of episodes, so to speak, jump off. Before somebody becomes a victim, and then there's the retaliatory victims that you start to try to prevent. If we can start preventing the starting of some more shooting, that we'll all be the better off. Then we don't have to stop potentially 2, 3, 4 potential retaliatory shootings. We do not, as they say, stop them from setting it off, so we don't have to stop it from continuing. So it's a lot going on in that field. But then most importantly, creating jobs by helping develop housing. We want to try to put forth plans that will allow more people in the community to go to work on future housing and business development, and from the ground up, not just, even one gentleman, hopefully I can connect with, he teaches them how to even be part of the architectural design using graphic programs and different things, and some of his trade skills that he has, some of his graphic skills he's taught in the high school level. He learns and brings them drafting and architectural skills to developing houses and teaching young people and others. But hopefully we're going to be able to move more adults to also work alongside him so that they have a very good paying avenue of construction work, housing development, renovations to go in a repertoire so they don't end up out on the street as much. Now, I've learned from guys on the street that have some of these skills, consistent work is an issue. Even for card-carrying African-American Latino union members, sometimes consistent work is an issue. And you have to get your certain amount of money in a quarter to even qualify for your unemployment benefits when you out of work again. And there's been issues with some of that. So the thing is to make sure you try to get people to work. If you're gonna help them change their lifestyle and go legitimate from the illegal styles of making money, so to speak, getting the bag. If we want them to go from illegally getting the bag and helping poison and destroy the community to legally getting a bag, we have to be able to provide them consistent paychecks, because the streets pay every day. We have to at least help them get jobs that can pay every week. And if not, jobs that can pay consistently every 2 weeks, and jobs that they can be in long term. We can't just get them a job for a few weeks and then they're supposed to change their lifestyle for the whole year, for 10, 20 years. If we want them to change their lifestyles, we got to put them on career paths. And there are a few new ones with what we call community violence intervention. There's a whole avenue of different opportunities there for them to work now from the ground up, with or without education. Then they can get training on various levels. Then they can go back and achieve other educational goals that they didn't even think were possible. Or there's technical things they can learn how to do. And then there's the accounting areas where they can learn to keep the books, the records for their organization, their group, for other groups, to monitor funding that's going to dozens of groups. I know a gentleman helped me with a hand up, set up our computer network, our internet system and everything that we still operate off of at a hand up. His mom is our accountant, and Brother Drisdale, he manages several multi-million-dollar accounts for places like UCAN, some Creed money, some funding for nonviolent interrupters and various other groups in his repertoire that service the North Lawndale community and other areas across the city. He has a whole division that he's responsible for reviewing their different budgets for those different groups that have millions of dollars worth of staffing. They staff 24 hours a day in these communities. So, and they're the ones first on the scene after shootings to help try to calm the situation, find out what happened. So, and it's a lane where many people, when they get out of the substance abuse and alcoholism stages, they can go into industries like this. Because why? Many of them have former gang affiliations. Many of them have affiliations with other gang members. Even when they don't join a gang, if you grow up in poor areas of the city and suburbs, you most likely know some gang members. Matter of fact, many of your friends may be involved in gang activity. And oftentimes, them your buddies, you grew up with them, you went to school with them. You see them as your friend. Society sometimes see them as the peddler, the hustler, somewhat, what would you call it? Menace to Society was a big movie, came out 30 years ago. We could have did without it, profiling our community, but hey, they've always done it that way. But and it created a lot of notoriety, and it was real to a certain extent for a certain part of the community. The bad part is they played it over and over in society as the norm. That is not the norm. The norm is good families. The norm is people trying to live well. The norm is people trying to survive without having to go to illegal activity. The norm is for people to resolve conflict without killing each other, shooting at each other, stabbing each other, make money without taking out whole family. Now, that stuff is kind of commonplace where 4 or 5 people get shot. But movies like that set a stage that now it's nothing for people to think that if they get a gun, they can make that bad decision of shooting in the crowd, shooting at people surrounded by other innocent people. And oftentimes, the person who's being shot at lives, even if they hit. Half the time they're not even hit by a bullet. It's all the innocent people that catch bullets and end up dead. And that's the biggest travesty of ridiculous, unwarranted gun violence. Is too often the intended target is not even wounded, let alone killed. It's so often the innocent bystanders. And so if we stop all that, we stop all of that killing, all of that travesty, all that retaliatory shooting, from even people that weren't even planning to retaliate. You kill a family member, they may actually go get in arms and come after you. And they don't have to be in a gang to care enough that if they lock and loaded, they might come and take somebody down. So, and especially when you come out of poor communities, you learn to fight. When you're back against the wall, you will fight your way out a corner. It's one thing to flee when you got some space to flee, but when you don't have any space left, most people growing up in poor communities will fight their way out. And it's nothing like they say a wounded animal, a wounded, struggling person is very dangerous because survival is an instinct we all have. So as we get people to change and stop using drugs, alcohol, and disoriented their mind and making themselves lubricated to the fact they can do destructive behaviors, they start to want to do productive behaviors, positive behaviors, right some wrongs, turn some things around, having positive impact on the very family they were destroying for years. And that's the ultimate goal. And now we're going to move things to another level, which the pandemic highlighted as we help more and more immigrants. There are a lot of family members of those struggling with substance abuse. Even if the person struggling doesn't change, the family member needs services and needs to be picked up, needs some housing. Others who haven't fallen down that path need better affordable housing, modern housing, and learning how to live in a better situation, being in mixed use housing development, not everything where it's just people who are in poverty on top of each other, but start to diversify the people they meet so that they can see and aspire to be different and not just feel they're going to be stuck in a cycle of public assistance and criminality. So we want to help change the whole narrative of people struggling. We want to lift up people everywhere. So Hand Up Recovery Homes wants to have program services that provide housing for those primarily in substance abuse, but the entire community of people that's in need. It's a wonderful experience to do all that. And back to what I should have started on. I had a guest plan, this lawyer, Kyrie Lloyd. Unfortunately, his job sent him to Minnesota to take care of some things. One thing he loves to work on is help the Chicago West Side branch NAACP help people with expungement, help Congressman Davis in the circuit courts. He's one of them lawyers, don't mind donating his time at certain points. And other points, he has to make a living as a lawyer. But he's very good and he enjoys helping the community. He'll be on later. But Kyrie Lloyd is a wonderful young lawyer. Matter of fact, when he in his hoodie, you wouldn't necessarily know him from the other guy on the street or the other guy that is still in college. But he's a practicing attorney. He's very good. He's helped dozens, if not hundreds of people get processed through their expungements. But then I was just talking at an event this weekend. There also are letters of good standings if you haven't been in any trouble 5 years out of the penitentiary and completing your sentence 10 years after completing in various stages. So even when you can't always get an expungement immediately, sometimes you can get those, quote, letters of good standing that allow people to also help you out. And then you have soon-to-be Congressman LaShawn Ford, who helped create the Ban the Box in Illinois. So they can't be asking you about your background like they used to in so many government applications. Now, some private people have not had to go along with it and may not go along with it, but they're working on getting compliance on every level to help people. So in the future, we'll give a hand up. So it's been a plum pleasing pleasure to be blessed to service you and to provide information, insight, and to inspire. And look forward to seeing you.